You mentioned climate change. There have been a number of other issues where the court has struck down acts of Congress that were passed by overwhelming bipartisan majorities, including most famously Citizens United and campaign finance, and also the Voting Rights Act of 2006. From your perspective as a senator, why is it important to have a court that defers to Congress, and why does the court matter?
Well, those decisions to me were the most unfortunate, and I have appreciated some of the interesting decisions and the work that's been done where Justice Kennedy or Justice Roberts will vote a different way. I will. One of my little, well, not being a constitutional scholar like your panelists, I did predict the upholding of the Affordable Care Act in our caucus. This is
wow.
A true fact. Some senators had been over watching the decision, and we had our Democratic caucus meeting, and they all said this is a disaster, which is much remembered. I stood up, I said, no. It'll be upheld, and Justice Roberts will write the opinion.
That's great.
That was a pretty good moment for me. And then
Wait, stop. How did you predict that?
I predicted it because I thought that just the importance, Justice Roberts' role in the court, of course it's decided on legal reasons, so I didn't predict it on that. Unlike the story that has come out of the caucus, was that I actually predicted the tax reason it was decided. Completely wrong.
You did, I'm sure.
But people said just go with it. So I'm like, okay. But it wasn't based on a legal analysis. It was just based on a feeling of the legacy of the court and other things. So, but when that all being said, and my appreciation for the fact that the justices have from time to time made independent decisions, including certainly the Chief Justice, was that decision in Citizens United. I to this day don't know if they understood the impact that it would have. And I suppose everyone on that court, used to be a judge and hasn't sat in that call room and made those calls to raise like $1,000 a person and $5,000 a person because the campaign finance rules set those limits. And that's a good thing for our country because everything's transparent and reported, and you know where the money comes from, and there's limits on how much an individual can give. And now we have a situation where this money from the outside can just come in a wash and just obliterate everything you raise. I've never had a super PAC. I've never had a super PAC run against me. I got 30% of the Romney vote in the last election voting for me. So I think I'm in a pretty good, credible position to say that when you have to, when you're in a Senate race and you have no personal wealth yourself like me, and when you first run and no one knows who you are nationally and you literally resort to setting an all-time Senate record, this is true fact. I raised $17,000 from ex-boyfriends because I got so desperate because no one would call me back, and I finally found all my old address books, and as my husband has pointed out, it's not an expanding base, and so the point is I kind of know what it's like in the trenches to do this and to come into this with no connections to money. And so if you have a situation where someone like me has a fighting chance because I can get enough support and then I can raise my $10 million by getting support and having some business support and doing this and I can do this. But if someone could just threaten every time with my little $10 million to come in and squash me with $50 million or $100 million from the outside, I'm not going to have a chance. And that's the problem with this outside money. And it takes the campaigns away from the individuals, whether they're Republicans or Democrats. And it makes it so that we can't get compromised on either side, the left or the right, because you're less afraid of the people on the other side than you are from people on your own base that would put the money in against you. And so it makes it really, really hard to get a compromise in the Congress. So I just think that if they knew all this when they were making that decision from the left and the right, and maybe they would have made a different one. And hopefully there'll be some reconsideration of Citizens United, not to mention the voting rights decision, because the act of Congress on this, about all we can do is make it more transparent. And that will have a limited effect. Yeah, we can pass that, and then you'll know where the money comes from. But it's not going to change the fact that the money can just squash you like a bug.